No alien had ever moved the sword. Not the warlords of the Iron Clans. Not the telekinetic scholars of Virex. Not even the ancient machines that could bend gravity like cloth. For 300 years, the blade did not move. So when the humans stepped forward, the entire valley fell silent. The world of Proxima Centauri B shimmered under its orange sun, a landscape of jagged crystal plains and towering obsidian ridges. Energy hummed beneath the surface, ancient and watching. Crowds had gathered again. They always did. Another challenger. Another failure. At the center of the valley stood the sword. It was embedded in a block of black stone that seemed to swallow light itself. The blade glowed faintly blue, pulsing like it was alive. Watching. Waiting. We should leave. Wee's voice was low, uneasy. Her blue skin reflected the orange sky, but her eyes stayed locked on the sword. Unlike the others, she wasn't curious. She was cautious. This place isn't just an archaeological site, she added. It feels wrong. Ian Stone didn't answer immediately. The human stood at the edge of the gathering, arms bare, black stealth suit hugging his frame. Compared to the towering aliens around him, he looked ordinary. Smaller. Weaker. Dismissible. And yet, he couldn't look away from the sword. You ever get that feeling, Ian said quietly, like something is calling you? We turned sharply. That's exactly the kind of feeling that gets species wiped out. A ripple of laughter echoed nearby as a massive four-armed alien approached the stone. Another one, someone muttered. Place your bets, another voice hissed. How long before it breaks him? The creature roared and grabbed the sword. Energy flared. The ground shook. Then, nothing. The alien strained, muscles bulging, veins glowing with bioenergy, but the blade didn't move. Not even a fraction. With a frustrated snarl, the creature released it. Defeated. Again. A wave of disappointment rolled through the crowd. Next. No one stepped forward. No one ever wanted to be the next failure. Except, Ian started walking. We grabbed his arm instantly. Don't. He glanced at her, calm. Why? Because that thing has rejected entire civilizations, she snapped. You're not stronger than them. Ian smiled faintly. I never said I was. Then what are you doing? He looked back at the sword. His voice dropped. I think it's not about strength. We tightened her grip. Ian, listen to me. He gently pulled free and stepped into the open. The crowd shifted. Murmurs spread like wildfire. A human. This will be quick. They don't even have enhanced physiology. Pathetic. Ian ignored them. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not because of fear, but because the air itself felt charged. Like something was watching him, judging him. Wee's voice echoed behind him, softer now. Please don't do this. He stopped for a moment, not turning. I have to. And then, he reached the stone. Up close, the sword was even more impossible. Symbols ran along its blade, shifting slightly, like they weren't fully real. The light inside it pulsed slowly, steady like a heartbeat. Ian swallowed. For the first time, he felt it. Not fear. Recognition. His hand rose. The entire valley held its breath. Wait, we whispered. Too late. Ian wrapped his fingers around the hilt. The world exploded. Light erupted from the blade, blinding, violent, alive. The ground cracked. Energy tore through the air in spiraling arcs. The crowd screamed and stumbled back. Wee's scanner shattered in her hand. Ian, she shouted. But he couldn't hear her, because suddenly, he wasn't there anymore. He stood among stars. Endless. Burning. Alive. Massive ships drifted around him. Human ships. But not like anything he had ever seen. They were colossal. Beautiful. Terrifying. Armored in light itself. And everywhere. Humans. Not weak. Not small. They moved like rulers of reality. Commanding forces that bent space, shattered enemies, and built entire worlds. A voice echoed through the void. You remember. Ian staggered. What is this? The voice was calm. Ancient. Not what. Who. The stars shifted. Darkness tore through space. Something wrong. something that should not exist. And the humans, they didn't run. They fought. The vision shattered. Ian gasped, back in the valley. The sword burned in his hand. The stone beneath it cracked. We stared at him, frozen in disbelief. Ian, she whispered. The entire crowd stood silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Slowly, very slowly, Ian pulled. The sword slid free, effortless, like it had been waiting. The light surged once more, stronger, wilder, alive. And every alien present felt it, a wave of something ancient, something undeniable. The sword had not been claimed. It had chosen. Ian looked down at the blade in his hand. His voice was barely a whisper. It knows me. We stepped closer, trembling. That's impossible. But even as she said it, her eyes told a different story. The air changed. Heavy. Dangerous. A distant hum echoed across the sky. Ships. Fast approaching. Wee's expression hardened instantly. We need to move. Now. Ian looked up. Dozens of armored vessels cut through the atmosphere. Weapons charging. They detected the energy surge, she said. And they're not here to ask questions. Ian tightened his grip on the sword. Another pulse hit him. Another flash. Coordinates. A location. A warning. His expression shifted. This isn't over, he said. We grabbed his hand. Then run. As the first dropships descended, and soldiers poured into the valley, the human and the alien vanished into the crystal maze. Behind them, the stone that had held the sword for centuries collapsed into dust. And far beyond the stars, something ancient opened its eyes. The moment the sword left the stone, the galaxy noticed. Not just the fleets descending through Proxima Centauri B's sky, but things far older, far deeper. Something had awakened. And it was not alone. Ian. Faster? Wee's voice cut through the sharp echoes of pursuit as they raced through the crystal maze. The towering formations bent light in impossible ways, turning shadows into illusions and sound into whispers. Behind them, blaster fire lit the valley. They're gaining on us, she warned. Ian didn't look back. The sword pulsed in his hand, brighter now, reacting, guiding. This way, he said suddenly, veering left. We frowned. That leads deeper into the interference zone. Trust me. She hesitated, just for a second, then followed. They slipped into a narrow canyon of jagged crystal walls. Instantly, the sounds of pursuit distorted, fading into eerie silence. We checked her wrist display. No signal, no tracking. Her eyes widened. How did you know? Ian exhaled slowly. I did not exactly. Another pulse from the sword. Another whisper in his mind. Fragments of knowledge that weren't his. We need to keep moving, he added. We studied him carefully. You're changing. Ian gave a dry smile. That's one way to put it. They reached a hidden alcove, shielded by overlapping crystal arches. For the first time since the chaos began, they stopped, breathing hard. Close. Too close. We looked up at him, her voice quieter now. What did you see when you touched it? Ian hesitated. How could he explain something that felt older than language? I saw us, he said finally. Humans. We blinked. That's not surprising. No, he interrupted softly. Not like now. He stepped closer. There was an empire, massive, advanced beyond anything we've ever recorded. Humans weren't weak. His voice dropped. We were unstoppable. Silence fell between them. We searched his face. That's not possible, she whispered. There's no record of. There wouldn't be, Ian said. Not if something erased it. The sword pulsed again. Stronger. Urgent. A deep vibration rolled through the ground. Both of them froze. That's not from the ships, we murmured. Ian turned slowly. The crystals around them began to hum, resonating, reacting. To the sword. To him. Cracks of blue light spread across the canyon walls like veins. What's happening? We asked. Ian's eyes narrowed. They're waking up. Suddenly, a beam of energy shot into the sky from somewhere deep within the valley. Then another. And another. Across the horizon, ancient structures hidden beneath the crystal surface began to rise. Massive, forgotten, alive. Wee's breath caught. These readings, they're ancient. Pre-colonization doesn't even come close. Yeah, Ian said quietly. I know. Above them, the descending fleet shifted formation. Weapons locked. A voice boomed across the valley. Unidentified human. Drop the artifact and surrender immediately. We cursed under her breath. That's the Foundation Enforcement Division. They won't negotiate. Ian glanced at her. Do they ever?
No.
He nodded once. Good to know. The ground trembled again. This time, harder. A section of the canyon split open, revealing a hidden passage descending into darkness. The sword flared, pulling, calling. Ian stepped toward it. We grabbed his arm. Wait, are you seriously thinking about going down there? He met her gaze. I don't think we have a choice. Blaster fire suddenly rained into the canyon entrance. Too close. Too fast. They're here, she snapped. Ian didn't hesitate anymore. Come on. They dove into the passage just as explosions shattered the crystal above them. The entrance collapsed, sealing them inside. Darkness swallowed everything. For a moment, there was only silence. And their breathing. Then, the sword ignited. Soft blue light filled the tunnel, revealing smooth metallic walls beneath layers of ancient stone. We slowly turned. This isn't natural. Ian ran his fingers along the surface. It's not. The walls responded. Lights flickered on one by one, stretching into the distance.
A path.
Waiting. They moved forward cautiously. Each step echoed. Each second heavier than the last. Wee's voice dropped to a whisper. Ian, if what you're saying is true. He glanced at her. Then humans didn't just disappear, she continued. They were hidden. The word lingered. Heavy. Dangerous. A sudden sound cut through the corridor. A low, mechanical hum. Both of them froze. Ahead, a massive door stood embedded in the wall, covered in the same shifting symbols as the sword. Ian felt his chest tighten. The sword pulsed violently now, reacting, recognizing. This is it, he said. We stepped beside him. What is it? He didn't answer immediately, because somehow, he already knew. He raised the sword. The symbols on the blade began to glow, matching the door, synchronizing. The entire structure vibrated. Ancient systems waking after centuries of silence. We took a step back, eyes wide. Ian, something's powering up. The door began to open.
Slowly.
Releasing a surge of cold air. And something else. Energy.
Old.
Unimaginable. Inside, a vast chamber stretched beyond sight. Rows upon rows of colossal shapes stood in the darkness.
Silent.
Waiting. Wee's voice trembled. What are those? The sword flared brighter than ever. Ian stepped forward, drawn in, and as the light revealed the truth, his breath caught. They're ships. Not broken. Not abandoned.
Perfect.
Dormant. Thousands of ancient human warships. The lights flickered fully on. Power surged through the chamber. Engines hummed to life. One by one, like something had just recognized its master. We stared in shock. This isn't possible. Ian's grip tightened on the sword. Another vision hit him, stronger than before. A warning. A future. Darkness tearing through the stars again. Something coming back. Something worse. His voice turned cold. This is why they left it behind. We slowly turned to him. For what? Ian looked at her, then back at the awakening fleet. For the next war. Suddenly, alarms blared. Not from the facility. From above. Wee's wrist display flickered back to life. Her face went pale. Ian, he didn't like that tone. What? She turned the screen toward him. Dozens.
No.
Hundreds of ships now filled the sky. Not just the Foundation. Different factions. Different empires. All converging. All armed. All watching. They're not here to capture you anymore, she whispered. Ian's jaw tightened. Then what? We met his eyes. They're here to take everything. Above them, weapons powered up, targeting the surface. targeting the facility, targeting the fleet. Ian slowly raised the sword. Its light reflected in his eyes.
Calm.
Focused. Different. Then they picked the wrong day. The ancient warships roared louder, responding, awakening, waiting, and in the darkness between stars, the first tear began to open. The first shot would decide everything. Above Proxima Centauri B, hundreds of warships hovered in a deadly standoff. Weapons charged. Target locks engaged. One mistake, and the entire planet would burn. Inside the ancient chamber, Ian felt it. The tension, the fear, the greed, all of it pressing down like gravity. We stood beside him, her voice barely steady. They're going to fire. Ian didn't answer, because the sword was speaking again. Not in words, in truth. A vision slammed into him, not the past this time, the future. Worlds collapsing, stars swallowed, entire fleets erased like dust. And behind it all, that same impossible darkness. The void, returning, stronger.
Hungry.
Ian staggered. We caught him instantly. Hey, stay with me. He gripped her arm. They're coming back, he breathed. Her eyes sharpened. Who? He looked up. Not at her. At the ceiling. At the sky beyond. The real enemy. Above them, a commander's voice echoed across every channel. Final warning. Power down all unknown systems or we open fire. A dozen fleets aligned their weapons. The ancient facility registered the threat and responded. The warships behind Ian began to rise. Not launching. Floating.
Silent.
Controlled.
Alive.
We stared in awe. They're responding to you. Ian shook his head slowly.
No.
He looked at her. They're responding to us. Another pulse surged through the sword. This time,
Different. Deeper.
it wasn't just power.
It was a test. A choice.
A hologram flickered to life in the chamber. A human woman in ancient armor appeared, her presence commanding, her eyes calm. DNA recognition confirmed. Her gaze shifted to we. Emotional resonance detected. We stiffened. Ian, what is this? The hologram continued. Activation requires two elements, human origin and genuine interspecies bond. Silence fell. Heavy. Understanding hit like a shockwave. We looked at Ian. It needs both of us. Ian nodded slowly. It always did. Above, the first fleet fired. A warning shot. It tore through the atmosphere, straight toward the surface.
Now.
We shouted. Ian raised the sword. We stepped behind him, placing her hands against his back. Their energies touched, clashed, then aligned.
Perfectly.
The sword erupted. Light exploded outward. Not destructive, but overwhelming.
Pure. Alive.
The beam from orbit hit,
And vanished.
disintegrated midair, as if reality itself rejected it. Every ship above froze. Sensors overloaded. Readings impossible. Inside the chamber, the light expanded, flowing through Ian, through we, through the fleet, and then it connected across the galaxy. Other points lit up, other hearts, other bonds. We gasped. I can feel them. Ian nodded. So can I. Their minds brushed,
Not forced.
not invasive, connected. He felt her curiosity, her courage, her fear, and her trust.
Real.
Unbreakable. And she felt him, not just the human, but what humans had always been. Guardians, builders, protectors. The sword pulsed once more. Then, everything changed. Above the planet, space tore open. Not a clean rupture. A wound. Darkness spilled through it like ink in water. Twisting. Moving.
Alive.
The void had arrived. Panic erupted across every fleet. What is that? All ships. Redirect fire. It's absorbing energy. Weapons fired. And disappeared.
Consumed.
Like they never existed. Wee's grip tightened. That's what you saw. Ian's voice hardened. Yeah. The void entity stretched, massive and impossible, warping reality around it. Ships began to fail. Systems collapsing. The galaxy's strongest fleets. Powerless. The sword burned brighter, demanding more. Not strength, not rage. Something else. Ian turned slightly, meeting Wee's eyes. We don't fight it like they would. She nodded, already understanding. We do it differently. They stepped forward together, hands intertwined. The chamber responded. The massive crystal core at its center awakened. The heart of light. Energy surged into them, but this time it didn't hurt. It flowed, amplified, balanced. Their connection deepened. Stronger than fear, stronger than power. Above, a beam of pure light shot into space. It didn't strike the void. It surrounded it, wrapped it, contained it. The entity thrashed, violent,
Chaotic.
but the light didn't break. Because it wasn't just energy. It was connection. Unity. Something the void could not understand. We whispered, breathless. It's working. Ian tightened his grip on her hand. Hold on. The void screamed, a sound beyond sound. Then, it began to collapse. Pulled back. Forced out. The tear sealed behind it.
Slowly. Painfully.
And then,
Silence.
the battlefield went still. No shots. No movement. Just stunned disbelief. Inside the chamber, the light faded. The sword dimmed. Ian exhaled heavily. We leaned into him, smiling softly. We just saved the galaxy. He smirked. Not bad for a human. She raised an eyebrow. And his alien partner. He pulled her closer. Especially her. Above, the fleets powered down. One by one. Not in fear. In respect. A message came through all channels. Not hostile. Not demanding. Careful. We request communication. Ian looked at We. She nodded. Together. He activated the channel. This isn't a weapon, he said calmly. It's a responsibility. We stepped beside him. And it doesn't belong to one species. The sword pulsed softly, agreeing. Far across the stars, more lights began to awaken. More hearts. More bonds. Ian glanced at We, a small smile forming. Looks like we're not done.
She grinned.
Good. The sword gleamed between them, not as a symbol of power, but of something far greater. Because in the end, it was never about a human doing what aliens couldn't. It was about what they could do, together.